68.1 1969 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. Here's Jerry McNeish to tell us more about this car. Jerry?
Thanks so much. For all the Camaro collectors out there, this car is coming to you from Jack Scanlon, who's a repeat consignor here at Barrett Jackson. This is a real Z28. The original engine, trans, and rear axle are still in the car, and I forgot all about it, but we rebuilt the engine for this car about 15 years ago. So the car runs perfect. Jack had it at his shop, Platinum's Plus, for about 8 or 9 years to do all the final detailing on it. This is a beautiful example of a Z28, so don't miss out on this car.
Hey, thank you, Jerry. I'm going to bid 100. I'm going to bid 25.50, and now 25, 5. I'm going to bid $50,000. 5, yes, 5. I'm going to bid 5. I'm going to bid now 60, and now $60,000. And now 5, 5, 5, and now 65. I'm going to bid 70 grand. I'm going to bid 75. I'm going to bid $75,000. I'm going to bid 75, 80 now, 80 now, 80 now, 80 now, 5, 5, 5, and now 85, 5. I'm going to bid 80 here in a 5. I'm going to bid 80 here in a 5, 5, 5. I'm going to bid never button up in row. I'm going to bid never 90, 90, 90, and now 85, 90. I'm going to bid 85, 90. I'm going to bid 85, $90,000 through and doing. I'm going to bid never 85, $90,000 on. I'm going to bid never 90 grand, 90 grand, 90 grand through down 97, and now 790. I'm going to bid 87, 90. I'm going to bid 87, $90,000 through and doing. I'm going to bid never now 90, and now 90 grand. I'm going to bid 90 now 5, 5, 5, and now 2, 2, 2, 5, 5, 5. What you going to do, Rod? I'm going to bid 95. I'm going to bid 2's here 5. I'm going to bid never 95, 5, 5. Dan, the bid's up here 92, 95, and 92 and 5. I'm going to bid 5, 7. I'm going to bid 97, 7. I'm going to bid 7. I'm going to bid 7. I'm going to bid never 9,700, and now 1, 1, 1, and now $100,000. What you going to do, Rod? I'm going to bid 100. Yeah, 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm going to bid never 100 grand. I'm going to bid never 1, 1. I'm going to bid 100. I'm going to bid now 1. I'm going to bid 100. I'm going to bid 1. I'm going to bid 1. I'm going to bid 100. I'm going to bid date 1. I'm going to bid, boy, you're closer. I'm going to bid $100,000. I'm going to bid 1, 1, 1, 1. I'm going to bid never 98 here 1. I'm going to bid never. No, I got 98 here. You're going to be 100. I'm going to bid 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 1, 1. I'm going to bid 100 grand. I'm going to bid never 98.
One thing we're really good at is making split moment decisions and buying stuff we're going to regret.
Free country.
I gotta pretext this to. I already knew about this car. My friends built it. It has the most amount of correct NOS parts in it, including what they're claiming to be a factory unrestored interior. This is actually the seat covers that were in this car from day one. I think it's the most correct Z28 in the whole place. Now, what happened here? I actually can't even explain it.
It was a bet.
Well,
The bet starting it.
It was but it was bad timing.
Or good timing.
Well, great timing for us, but my friends, I love all my friends in the automotive industry.
That's 3.
Their timing was horrible, unfortunately for them. We tried to bump it up so we could get it to the 130, 140, 150 range where this car belongs. I think you bought the best Z28 here. Let's check it out. My understanding is that every one of these radiator hoses is legitimately an NOS.
I sold lots of those back in the day.
But they are actual GM
part numbers. Yeah.
They're not even reproduction parts. This car has every piece of it. Like, do you see it, Teresa? Like, it's crazy.
I see it, totally.
It's crazy. This is the best buy of the whole auction as far as I'm concerned.
Well, if I were going to buy a Camaro, this would be the one I would buy.
Well, all of us want a Z28 Camaro.
The real deal.
So they use the actual original harness here, and I believe this is the harness that belonged to this car. Tomorrow, I think we're going to get a whole synopsis of the car itself, but I know that my friends those guys over there in Post Falls, Idaho, just put together the best Z28s on the planet, right?
Unreal. Looking forward to be part of the collection. Beautiful.
It's crazy. Look at this thing.
Shall we jump in?
Yeah, get in there. So is it a non-tilt car, which I like?
Non-tilt.
Non-tilt, proper Z28. Holy shit. So, one thing they were doing is in the last 20 years, my buddy Jack was actually getting all of these rubbers. Anything that would come up on eBay, he would buy new old stock rubbers, he would buy new old stock hoses, but what he would do is continually restore these cars with new old stock parts. And what happens is you get a car that's restored with parts that are actually worth more than what you just paid for the car.
Well, remember being in their parts department with all the OEM parts boxes
Right?
in their room.
Wow, this is really, really
This
oh
interior is.
my God, it's literally like it's from 1969.
But Teresa, this is the original interior. This interior has never left this car, so that's how good it was before they did the restoration.
Unreal.
And that's why I'm telling you, it's the best. It's the best set Z28 that was here at this auction.
Wow.
Over here in tent A. Should be in tent 9.
It should have been. It really should have been.
That's why it got missed too many.
But at least it went to a guy that actually appreciates
A couple of cowboys.
it. You're not actually going to flip it. It's fucking
No.
awesome. Totally, totally awesome. You ever had one of these?
No, never have.
You ever dreamt of having one?
Yes, absolutely.
Me
Lots.
too. Who doesn't dream of having a 12-volt posi 302 proper Trans Am?
Oh,
Like when GM was making these cars, they were physically built to do one purpose, to go road race. Rev to 9,000 RPM, 4-speed, 12-volt posi. You're going racing, boys, and you're not going drag racing, because if you're going drag racing, you get in a big block. This is the car to go road racing.
with a bucket of chicken.
Well, you and I are going to take a bucket of chicken, take it to Area 27, and go take this car
Will
out.
they let us take a few laps, you think?
Fucking rights they will. We're both members. This is your car.
I love it. I love
The
it.
color's great. Everything's awesome. Are you kidding me? That's the buy of the day on a Friday night at Barrett Jackson. This guy owns the coolest car here.
I love it. I love it.
The next day.
How are you? So we're sorry for you guys. Well, it works. It works. At least it went to somebody good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chris, Terry, Chris.
Nice to meet you. Okay, nice to meet you too.
Okay, now that we're sober, tell us about the car we bought, because we weren't paying that much attention, and I think it's super, super cool. And with your credibility behind it, I thought there's no way that that's not a great car.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. So the car came out of Portland, Oregon. He bought the car in 1998. I believe that car came out of Renton, Washington.
Yeah.
It was in like the nickel neck.
No way.
And he called on it. They came up with a price, and he ended up driving the car home.
This is how long ago?
So 1998.
98.
Yep.
Okay. So it's a 30-year-old car. Then.
Yeah. So he bought the car. It had a 350 in it when he bought it, and the original engine came with it.
Okay.
So they had the engine, the transmission rear end were in the car.
Yeah.
So he actually bought the car and drove the car with the 350 in it.
Okay.
It had its original paint at that time and had been spotted in on the right quarter.
Right.
Other than that, it had door dings, chip paint, some of that stuff, but really a solid, nice car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, because I don't know if it's a restoration trick or if it's actually this factory paint still on the firewall.
The factory paint is on the firewall with these stampings.
So how significant is that for the value of the car?
It's big, because what car do you find that doesn't have that existing?
Scratched off and some stickers
Repaint
along the
it.
way. And
Yeah.
so what was the paint for these markings that they used? Because I don't think I've ever seen that unless it's been duplicated. So was it a different paint, that orange, that sort of fades away with a bunch of car washes? Or why am I
Just
looking at
over
it here?
time,
How did it survive?
So the stampings were just on there as it rolled down the assembly line, right?
Right.
So in talking to Jerry, he said, you see all these cars have them. They didn't, he said, coming down the assembly line, they didn't have that. He said maybe every 20th one would have those stampings.
Right. So that's super, super rare.
That's rare. Yeah.
So how many Z28s were built in '69? I think it's the biggest year of them.
Yeah.
Is it in the thousands of it?
thousands.
Okay. Yeah.
Because in '67 there was only 612 or something.
So how do we determine rarity of a 69, one versus another?
So the biggest thing is this car, like everything from the engine. So Jerry built this engine, right?
Specifically.
The guy who
Jerry McNeish did?
Yes.
Oh.
The guy who wrote the book on Z28s built the motor and tranny
How
in
often?
his shop.
How often does he do that?
Not very often.
He said that on stage last night.
So
Yeah.
how many of his engines would be out there in restored cars? Would there be a dozen? Would there be 2 dozen?
You know, I don't know the number of engines that he builds a year, but
it's-
I would say less than 20.
Less than 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
If I had to guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
And obviously he does it with NOS parts.
Yep.
How do you even source some of this stuff?
Just you know, since he's been in it so long, he knows guys like Jack that have collected parts, and that's where he'll turn to Jack. He'll turn to people if he doesn't have it in his collection of stuff. You know, and he'll reuse anything that's good. That
So
the
he'd
car comes with.
so in his when he gives the car the sign off that it's a really good car and the restoration is worthy of his sort of seal of approval, he prefers to see NOS parts that are a little beat up rather than
Absolutely.
brand new parts that are off the
Absolutely.
shelf. So we were looking at this wiring harness. So that looks 100% like it's never even left the car to me.
It never has. No.
So what's the significance of that? To me, that adds value to the car.
Well, it's like the interior. The interior's never been out of this car.
No shit.
Never.
So
we didn't take it out when we painted it. Oh, wow. The carpet's never been out of the car. The sill plates have been off. These panels have been off. The
So
door
have you
panels
guys
have been
obviously you
off.
popped the back seat off and went looking for that piece of paper, the magic piece of paper that sometimes exists under
Yeah,
back
I
seats?
think that's been searched out.
Long
that-
gone.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, the original, and that's why there was controversy of, you know, do we change the dash pad? Do we not change the dash pad?
Right.
That door panel's got a little flaw in it.
Right.
The determination was not to. So
Because the car was 100% rigid.
yeah, and that's
Yeah.
you know.
And in Jerry McNeish's observation, he was part of that decision to say, I'd rather see it remain like this.
Yeah, I mean, he goes both ways on some
Sure.
of that stuff.
Sure.
It's like, you know, this is real rubber.
Yeah.
This has a real trunk rubber in it. And a lot of the restorations, nobody will do that because
Right.
one, you can't find them.
Right.
And, you know, one side you'll pay $1,200 and the other side, if you can find it.
So in my world, I mean, we play Camaros a little bit, so we've probably only done a handful of cars.
Right.
So under 10.
Yeah.
This piece right here, every time I go to buy the aftermarket one,
Mm-hmm.
I've never had one fit the car ever. And I'm looking at this one and just how it's crumpled and seems to fit super, super tight and super well.
Mm-hmm.
My mind immediately goes to, yes, the factory pieces were much better than what we're able to buy.
Yes. And it's like putting the original sill plates on.
Yeah.
You know, those are the things we normally in a restoration would update, right?
Right.
But if you could find a set of NOS ones,
That
of
would
course,
suit this build better.
Yeah,
Than,
yeah.
Yeah.
But still, then, are you taking away from the fact that
How great this car really is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the whole reason for not updating any of that stuff.
So tell me trim package wise, because I've seen them with vinyl tops, I've seen them with chrome sort of flutes in the quarter panels. This one doesn't have chrome trim around the windows. It doesn't have
Doesn't
the chrome
have the wheel well trim.
wheel well trim. So are we talking more of a performance-based purchase rather than a glitzy purchase? And do Z28 guys prefer that? Are we getting nerdy there? Or?
I mean, it really depends. A lot of people like the bells and whistles. They like the trim. They like the drip rail molding. You know, they like the vinyl top. They like the RS package, the Rally Sport
But
stuff.
that kind of steers you away from the purpose of a Z28. The Z28 was to go road racing.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, and this is more of that
Right, it's
based
pure.
version
Yeah.
of the 69 to Z28.
Non-tilt column.
Yep.
So this is built and
Yep.
purchased to be a race car. Wicked.
Yeah.
So tell us, I mean, you had your hands on it, and your paint jobs are the best in the industry. In fact, for those of you that don't know, Chris is my my mentor, my teacher when it came to color sanding. He taught me how to cut and buff cars when
that was a long time ago.
A long time ago. We might have done a couple good paint jobs ourselves since.
Yeah, you guys do a great job.
Tell me in a minute synopsis why we made a great purchase here, or why we should be super excited about this particular car.
Well, the biggest reason is you don't find them in this condition, period. You don't find them that way. You don't find them that don't have rust in them, you know, that you just don't have to go completely through. Like the bottom of this car has never been painted.
And it's
It is
nice?
exactly the way it came.
No way.
Yeah, and it is nice. We wiped it down with 409.
Yeah.
Obviously the subframe has been repainted when they did the engine and everything. The rear end's been redone. The springs have been redone. But the whole bottom of the car is completely the way it was from 1969.
So I'm going to just do this for our audience because it's important to understand. At this given point in time, if you have this serial number and the little plate on the firewall, there is an abundance of Z28s, and I'm not going to say like tons and tons, but there's lots of them that are rusty from here down. East Coast cars that have been left in the weather. And what typically happens is you purchase this body tub from Dynacorn, and then you purchase all aftermarket bits, and you assemble a beautiful Z28. No disrespect to anybody who's done that, but you don't have a pure car that's survived the test of time, that's been loved by maybe one or two owners that decided to take such good care of it. So this isn't a car that was built out of a bunch of parts, it's a car that was never taken apart. And I think that's way more significant than the ladder, if you will.
Yeah, because you can find the ladder of that
right
all day long.
Or create it.
Yes, or create it. But to get one that's existing, very difficult.
Well, just like they say at Barrett Jackson, well bought.
Thank you.
You got any more questions for Chris while we're here?
Not at all.
Awesome. We're going to close that little chapter and maybe go buy some more cars. Might take a couple wobbly pops to do that. All right, guys. Give Chris a handshake and thank you for your time.
Congratulations.
Really appreciate that.
Yes.